Hi, this is Rick from For Community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. I'm going to run a church experience by you, and I wonder if you've had something similar happen to you. Imagine walking into a church one day as a guest to visit a friend who attends there, just trying to check the place out. You don't know much about the place, you're just going there because you got a friend there. When you walk in, you are greeted by a guy with a smile from ear to ear, filling up the space at that front door that goes into that main room, goes to sanctuary, and he greets you and introduces himself as the pastor. He has a few things to say about his leadership of the church and how glad he is that you're there visiting, and just to reach out to him if you have any questions at all. And then you go into the sanctuary, you go find your seat, and once you find your friend, you quickly discover that the guy is not the pastor at all. Apparently, as the story goes, there's a group of people in the church who are referring to him as the pastor, but it's just not true. They just don't like the current pastor, so they want this guy to be their pastor. And the actual pastor gets up in front of everyone, he prays, starts the service, doesn't make any reference to the other guy at all. And you're just left confused with a bad taste in your mouth. Like, why are you there? Do you even want to stay there? Do you just want to leave? So strange, right? What do you do with that? I've experienced that. Okay, so what about you? Have you ever had a strange experience in a church where someone in the church is masquerading as a leader, but they actually had no authority at all? If you've got a story, please pause the video and share your experience with whoever it is you're watching with. This video is based on my interpretation of 3 John. I'd like to say chapter 1, but there's only one chapter, 3 John verses 9 through 11. It's a follow-up to my last video on 2 John. In 2 John, we learn how important it is to create a boundary that ends relationships when we discover that there is a pirate in the group trying to wrestle influence from the leader of a group and use it for some kind of strange purpose. In 3 John, we see what happens to a church when a boundary has not been put in place and a pirate has taken control of the church. 3 John verses 9 through 11. I wrote to the church about this, but Diotrephes, who loves to be the leader, refuses to have anything to do with us. When I come, I will report some of the things he is doing and the evil accusations he's making against us. Not only does he refuse to welcome the traveling teachers, he also tells others not to help them. And when they do help, he puts them out of the church. Dear friend, don't let this bad example influence you. Follow only what is good. Remember that those who do good prove that they are God's children, and those who do evil prove that they do not know God.
I wonder what that noise was about.
I think it was a TIE fighter.
Chewie, where you going, you fraidy furball? That's for smuggling!
Hey kids!
Don't forget to watch this week's episode of Connect HQ.
Here's what I want to go with this video. How to recover from a toxic church leadership experience. This is part 2 of my text on 2 John last time. When a church has not put in place a boundary that ends a relationship with a pirate, somebody who's trying to come in and take influence in order to knock a group off of their course. 3 John this is what happens to a church when they allow pirates to do their thing. Let's start with some context here. We're all probably familiar with stories of pastors who have gone rogue and have done something wrong. It stands out because, frankly, it's just infrequent. I mean, it happens, but it doesn't happen every day. So when it does happen, it really gets our attention. But toxic churches aren't usually toxic because of the pastor. There are a lot of reasons a church culture may be toxic, and one of those reasons is because of piracy. Pirates is one of the reasons why a church culture can be toxic and why you might get hurt in a church culture. Here's what I'm seeing in this text. So in 2 John, last week's video, we see a letter written to give instruction about creating boundaries against people who are pirates. They want to take the influence that a leader has and use it for their own benefits in a way that often hurts people. In 3 John, we see what happens when a boundary never gets set up, when a group fails to respond to pirates in appropriate ways with strong boundaries that removes them from the group. These pirates become social influencers and leaders, and those leaders, those pirates, they hurt the people in the group and they hurt the newcomers to the group, and you may have been hurt by a pirate yourself. 3 John helps us to understand one of the reasons you may have experienced a toxic church culture, how to move forward from that experience, and how to protect yourself from an experience like that so you don't get hurt by it again. Let me start right here. This is totally about piracy. The text says, Diotrephes, who loves to be the leader. Diotrephes is not a pastor. He's not the pastor. He's not a pastor. He's just a dude attending a church. At least that's what he used to be. But things progressed for him, and he's the kind of guy who really needs to be in some kind of leadership position. I think we've all met people like that, people who just need to be in the limelight, people who need the accolades from other people to make them feel good about themselves. For some reason, being in a lead role is what he needs to make himself feel good. Now that he's in some kind of social influence leadership position, he's doing all the things that 2 John tells us a pirate is going to do. He's a pirate. He's wiggled his way into some kind of influence and using that influence to do his own thing. People are getting hurt. This isn't about the pastor. This is about a pirate winning over a group of people to lead some part of the church. Now, I'm going to guess that anyone who has ever been to church has some kind of negative memory. I'm going to guess that you may have turned away from a church and have chosen never to go back, because you kind of get the idea that it makes no sense at all to stay in harm's way or go back to something that's going to target you. What do you do with your experience of a church that has hurt you? What do you do as a Jesus follower who's been hurt by too many pirates in a church? Well, here's my second point: how to respond and how to protect yourself from being hurt again. The text says, "Dear friend, don't let this bad example influence you. Follow only what is good. Remember that those who do good prove that they are God's children, and those who do evil prove that they do not know God." Okay, I'm going to pause for 1 second and acknowledge how hard it can be to recover from these negative church experiences. Okay, but let's also pause to take some of the responsibility on ourselves for being hurt. And I know that sounds weird. Let me just share with you how it is we can set ourselves up sometimes to get hurt so that we don't get hurt again. One of the reasons why pirates in churches can hurt us so much is because people tend to go to church with the expectation that they'll be loved and accepted just as they are. They'll be embraced and understood. That's just plain naive. It's a really bad idea to go to a church with that expectation. The church isn't filled with people that you're paying to care for your mental health. The church is filled with people who have no competency around how to help you become a better person. The church is filled with people who are just as hurting and broken as you may be. When you visit and try to become part of a church with your boundaries completely down, completely vulnerable, with your expectation to be loved completely high, what you've done is you completely ignored asking for the consent of others to enter into that kind of helping relationship with you, and you've exposed yourself to people who only have the competencies that they have, which tend to be skills to hurt other people. Inside the church are not people who have it all together. Inside the church are people who are just as messed up as you are. And too many people seem to be expecting someone else to fix them. So people are getting hurt. It's a really bad idea to visit a church and expect them to fully embrace you and love you as you are, so that you are completely accepted, warts and all, and are completely cared for. No one can do that for you. You need to pay for that kind of service from professionals. And you need to make sure that someone has the competency to care for you like that. And you need to make sure that you've gained their consent to enter into that kind of helping relationship. So be a little wiser going into church. No one is your hero or helper. You are an equal among equals attempting to discern if you can fit into an existing community. You are broken among the broken, if that's how you see yourself. You are the incompetent among the incompetent when it comes to being the kind of person that can help fully restore and heal somebody else. You're not going to find perfection. You're not going to find perfect care. You're going to find normal people who are hopefully discerning how awesome Jesus is and are hopefully growing in their relationship with Jesus just a little bit each day. So you can come alongside other people in their journey as we're all journeying closer to Jesus, and we all acknowledge that none of us are perfect. So specifically, we're given 3 instructions here to help us move on and not hold on to the hurt or hold on to a grudge about a church that has hurt us. And I'm just going to give you one of these instructions. Don't let this bad example influence you. Pretty specific. Remember 2 John. When you have identified a person who intends you harm, you create space between yourself and that person. There's no reason to try to connect with or correct a pirate. Just end the relationship and move on. Once you've recognized a pirate, move on. And yes, that may mean leaving the church, leaving a church. One bad person doesn't mean that everyone is bad. Don't globalize like that. One bad church experience doesn't mean that all churches are bad. Don't globalize like that. One bad memory doesn't mean that all of your memories are going to be bad. Please don't let a pirate dictate the course of your life. Please don't let a pirate make your choices for you. Please don't let a pirate decide for you that you're never going back to church and you're never going to follow Jesus. Don't give the place of God to a pirate that should never have been in any kind of leadership position in the first place. Okay, well, that's my interpretation of this text. I'm going to love to hear your interpretation of this text. So connect with us this week if you're up to it. That's it from me to you for now. Would you please like, share, subscribe? Would you please ask for the link? Also, keep in mind this Sunday, we're meeting in Beaton at the Beaton Community Center. If you're local to me, come on out. If you'd like to contribute, you can find the link in the show notes below. For community, creating community spaces so you can connect with others and also with God. See you next time.